Okay, so you guys sent us this incredible story. It's about Elon Musk and a homeless veteran named Bernie. It's really powerful, honestly reads like a movie, a true story of, well, resilience and second chances. And we're going to be diving into an excerpt called Pasted Text for this one. So imagine this. Elon Musk just finished up at a tech conference in San Francisco. He's heading to his car, just another face in the crowd. And that's when he spots Bernie.
What's interesting is that Elon's drawn to Bernie's kind of this quiet dignity. You have to remember, this is San Francisco, where unfortunately homelessness is pretty visible. But Bernie isn't like yelling or aggressively panhandling or anything. He's sitting with a sign just says, homeless veteran, anything helps. There's this quiet strength about him. And that seems to really resonate with Elon.
And instead of just, throwing some change in Bernie's direction, Elon does something completely unexpected. He sits down next to Bernie on the curb and starts a conversation. And this is where we start to see Elon's approach to helping others. It's a bit different from what you might expect.
Right. Elon doesn't start with pity or assumptions. He just asks Bernie a very direct question. What do you need?
Ah.
And it's powerful, that question, because it immediately shifts the whole dynamic. It empowers Bernie to, articulate his own needs and desires rather than just accepting whatever's offered.
And Bernie's response is surprising. He doesn't just ask for money, for food or shelter or anything like that. He tells Elon about this dream he has of opening a small mechanic shop. He wants to work again, to feel useful, rebuild his life using the skills he learned, as a mechanic in the Marines.
This desire to contribute, to be self-sufficient, it really challenges some of the stereotypes about people experiencing homelessness. It highlights the importance of dignity and purpose, not just handouts. Bernie's not looking for a quick fix, right? He wants a real sustainable solution, a chance to stand on his own 2 feet again.
And Elon, always a man of action, he doesn't hesitate, immediately helps Bernie secure temporary housing at a veteran support center. It's called Horizon Haven. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, he goes several steps further.
This is where you really start to see the difference between just charity and actual empowerment.
Yeah.
Elon doesn't just want to give Bernie a temporary safety net. He wants to equip him to really succeed long term.
Exactly. He gives Bernie a list of potential shop spaces, offers to cover the first 6 months' rent. So he's not just throwing money at the problem, he's strategically investing in Bernie's future.
It's a great example of what some economists call venture philanthropy. It's using business principles and strategic investments to create lasting social change. In a way, Elon's treating Bernie like a startup, providing him that seed funding and the mentorship to get his business off the ground.
So with Elon's support, Bernie's shop starts to come together. It's called Bernie's Repairs. And I love how the story describes the shop. Tools neatly arranged, smell of oil and metal in the air, and the sense of purpose just returning to Bernie's life.
It's almost like a sensory experience of renewal, right? The tools, the familiar smells, the rhythm of work, all represent this return to normalcy and self-worth for Bernie. Reminds us of the power of familiarity and routine, especially for someone who's been through trauma.
And it's not just about setting up the shop. Elon makes sure Bernie has clients too. Connects him with a guy named Mike, runs a construction company. Mike becomes Bernie's first major client.
This is where, networking and social capital come into play. It's one thing to have the skills and the space to work, but you also need access to opportunities.
Yeah.
Elon, with his vast network, he's able to connect Bernie with the right people, open doors that might have otherwise remained closed.
And this is where we really start to see the ripple effects of one act of kindness. Bernie, now back on his feet, starts offering free repairs for other veterans and even starts training young mechanics.
And this is what's so fascinating about Bernie's story. He goes from being someone who needed help to becoming a source of support for others.
Yeah.
Really demonstrates that cyclical nature of giving and receiving.
And it's not just about charity. Bernie's passing on his knowledge and skills, creating this legacy that extends far beyond his own shop.
It's a reminder that empowerment is contagious. When you help someone regain their sense of agency, they often go on to empower others. It creates this positive chain reaction that can transform entire communities.
It's amazing to see how Bernie's story starts with this chance encounter with Elon, and then expands outward, impacting not only his own life, but also the lives of those around him.
Yeah, it's a testament to the power of human connection and the ripple effect of kindness. It suggests that even small acts of compassion can have these far-reaching consequences, creating a web of positive change that extends far beyond our immediate circle.
And this brings us to another really interesting part of the story. The local news picks up on Bernie's journey, and suddenly his story and Elon's role in it are being shared with a much wider audience.
Now, this is where the story takes on a whole new dimension. It sparks this larger conversation about homelessness, veterans' issues, and the role of philanthropy in addressing social problems, right? It forces people to confront the realities
Yeah.
of poverty and inequality.
Mm.
And it challenges them to consider their own role in creating solutions.
Exactly. It raises questions about the responsibility of those who have achieved success to give back to their communities and the different ways in which individuals can make a difference. But what I find particularly compelling is how Bernie's story highlights the transformative power of second chances.
This idea of second chances is woven throughout the entire narrative. Bernie's given a second chance to rebuild his life, and he, in turn, provides second chances. To other veterans and aspiring mechanics, it's a reminder that everyone deserves the opportunity to redeem themselves, to learn from their mistakes, and to contribute to society in a meaningful way.
And this really makes me think about how we, as a society, view and treat those who are struggling. Do we see them as burdens or as individuals with potential? Do we offer judgment or compassion?
It's a challenging question. But Bernie's story reminds us that everyone has a story, a journey, a set of experiences that have shaped who they are. And sometimes all it takes is one person to believe in their potential, to offer a helping hand, to create the conditions for transformation.
And that's what makes this story so inspiring. It's not just about Elon's wealth or Bernie's resilience. It's about the power of human connection, to bridge divides, to inspire change, and to remind us that even in the face of adversity, hope and possibility can prevail.
It's about recognizing the shared humanity that connects us all, regardless of our backgrounds or circumstances.
And it encourages us to consider how we might contribute to creating a more just and compassionate world, one where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, and where second chances are not just a possibility, but a reality.
It's a reminder that the path to a better future is paved with these individual acts of kindness, empathy, and a belief in the power of human connection to transform lives.
And as we move to the next part of our deep dive, I think it's important to keep these themes in mind. We'll be exploring the complexities of PTSD, the challenges veterans face in reintegrating into civilian life, and the systemic factors that contribute to homelessness.
It's going to be a fascinating exploration of the intersection of personal stories, social issues, and the power of human connection to create a more just and equitable world. Bernie's story, it really highlights those invisible struggles that so many veterans face. We often hear about the physical wounds of war, but the psychological scars, like PTSD, can be just as debilitating.
Yeah, it's true. The excerpt mentions Bernie's PTSD, and it made me think about, how difficult that transition back to civilian life must be. After you've experienced the trauma of war, the world that you left behind is different, your support systems may have shifted, and you're carrying these invisible wounds that most people don't understand.
Exactly. And that's where the importance of accessible mental health services really comes in. But it's not just about therapy. For many veterans, finding that sense of purpose and meaning in civilian life is crucial to their healing process.
And that's what was so powerful about Bernie. Finding his way back to being a mechanic. It wasn't just a job. It was a way for him to reclaim his skills, his identity, a sense of self-worth.
There's actually a growing body of research now that shows how meaningful work can be, a powerful tool for recovery from PTSD. It provides structure, routine, a sense of accomplishment, all of which can be incredibly therapeutic.
It's almost like the act of fixing things, of bringing order to chaos. It mirrors the process of healing from trauma, It's about taking something broken and making it whole again.
That's a great analogy. And it also speaks to the resilience of the human spirit. Bernie's story isn't just about overcoming homelessness. It's about overcoming trauma, finding purpose, and ultimately giving back to his community.
And speaking of community, Bernie's story really got me thinking about, that whole idea of individual action versus systemic change. I mean, it's amazing what Elon was able to do for Bernie, but it also raises the question, can we rely on billionaires to solve social problems?
That's a great question. And it's a complex one. There's no doubt that individual acts of philanthropy can make a huge difference in individual lives. But to truly address those systemic issues, Like homelessness, we need broader solutions. We need affordable housing policies, accessible mental health care, job training
Yeah.
programs that are available to everyone, not just, those lucky enough to encounter a billionaire.
Right. It can't just be about random acts of kindness. We need systemic solutions that
Yeah,
address the root causes of these issues.
absolutely. And that requires a real shift in perspective. We need to move away from viewing homelessness as just a personal failing and start recognizing those complex social and economic factors
Hmm.
that contribute to it. Things like lack of affordable housing, mental health challenges, systemic inequalities all play a role.
It's about understanding that anyone, regardless of their background or their circumstances, could find themselves in a situation where they're struggling to keep a roof over their heads.
Exactly. And it's about creating a safety net that catches people before they fall too far, rather than just trying to help them pick up the pieces afterwards.
Bernie's story also raised these interesting questions about the role of media in shaping our perceptions of social issues. Once the local news picked up his story, it kind of, went viral, right?
Yes, and that's where the power of storytelling comes in. The media has a huge influence on how we understand and respond to social issues. And Bernie's story, with its themes of resilience, second chances, unexpected kindness, it clearly resonated with a lot of people.
It's like it tapped into this deep human desire for hope and redemption. We all love a good comeback story, and Bernie's journey.
Especially with Elon Musk as a supporting character, right?
Yeah.
It's incredibly compelling. It also challenged some of the stereotypes associated with homelessness. Bernie wasn't just a faceless statistic. He was a veteran, a skilled mechanic, a father who was trying to rebuild his life.
And that humanization, I think that's what made the story so powerful. It reminded people that behind every statistic, there's a human being with a story, with dreams, with struggles.
Yeah, it challenged people to look beyond the labels and see the individuals, to recognize that shared humanity that connects us all.
And it also brought attention to, Elon Musk's philanthropy, which isn't something we usually associate with him.
Right, and that's interesting because it raises those questions about the motivations behind philanthropy and the potential impact of these high-profile individuals using their wealth to address social issues. Some critics would argue that this kind of celebrity philanthropy could be more about ego than about creating lasting change.
I see what you mean. It's like, are these acts of generosity genuine? Or are they just PR stunts designed to boost someone's image?
That's a valid point. But at the same time, we can't deny the positive impact that these acts can have. In Bernie's case, Elon's intervention was clearly instrumental in helping him get back on his feet.
And regardless of Elon's motivations, the fact that he chose to use his wealth and influence to help someone in need, that's worth acknowledging. It sets an example for others and hopefully inspires more people to consider how they can make a difference.
It also highlights the potential for collaboration between the private sector, nonprofits, and government agencies to address social issues. It's not about one person or one organization doing it all. It's about working together to create a more supportive and equitable society.
This is where that conversation about sustainability comes in. Elon gave Bernie this huge boost. But what happens when that initial support runs out? Can Bernie's shop survive on its own?
That's the key question, isn't it? And it's why it's so important to focus on empowering individuals rather than just providing that temporary relief.
It's like that old adage, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime.
Exactly. And in Bernie's case, he not only learned to fish, he's now teaching others to fish as well.
Which brings us back to this idea of ripple effects. Bernie's story isn't just about one man's transformation. It's about the potential for that transformation to spread outward, impacting his family, his community, and even the way we think about homelessness and second chances.
And that's what makes this story so powerful. It's a reminder that even amidst the complexities of social issues, individual acts of kindness and compassion can make a real difference. They can spark change, inspire hope, and remind us of the interconnectedness of our human experience.
Like a single stone thrown into a pond, right?
Yeah.
Creating ripples that extend far beyond that initial point of impact.
And those ripples can have a profound effect on the individuals and communities they touch, creating this cascade of positive change that can be felt for generations to come.
So as we delve deeper into the specific challenges faced by veterans and explore the complexities of PTSD, in the next part of our deep dive, I think it's important to keep this broader context in mind.
We'll be examining those systemic factors that contribute to homelessness, analyzing the effectiveness of different intervention strategies, and considering the ethical implications of philanthropy and media representation.
It's going to be a fascinating exploration of the intersection of personal stories, social policy, and the power of human connection to create a more just and compassionate world. As we've been talking about Bernie's story, one thing that keeps coming back to me is the transformative power of work. You know, it wasn't just about the income for him, it was about regaining his sense of purpose, his identity.
Yeah, absolutely. The excerpt really emphasizes how the shop became a sanctuary for Bernie, this place where he could reconnect with his skills and find that sense of normalcy amidst all the chaos that he had
And
experienced.
it makes you think, how many other people experiencing homelessness might find similar healing and purpose through work? You know, it really challenges the assumption that people just need handouts. Maybe what they really need is a chance to contribute, to be productive members of society.
It's interesting you say that. There's this growing movement now within social services
No.
to focus on what's called asset-based community development. So instead of focusing on people's deficits, it emphasizes their skills, their talents, their experiences.
So instead of just asking, what do you need? You're asking, what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? How can we help you use those skills to build a better life?
Exactly. And this approach aligns perfectly with Bernie's story. He wasn't just a passive recipient of charity. He was an active participant in his own recovery. He leveraged his skills as a mechanic to create a sustainable livelihood for himself, and in the process, became a source of support for others.
It's like he tapped into this inner strength
Yeah.
and resourcefulness that was always there, just waiting for the opportunity to be expressed.
And that brings us to another crucial point, the importance of second chances. Bernie's story is a testament to the fact that people can change, that they can overcome adversity, and that they deserve the opportunity to rebuild their lives.
But second chances don't just happen magically. They require a societal willingness to forgive past mistakes, to provide support, and to create pathways for people to reintegrate into the community.
Exactly. And this is where policy and infrastructure come into play. We need to invest in affordable housing, job training programs,
Yeah.
mental health services, and other resources that can really help people get back on their feet.
It's not just about size. Individual acts of kindness, those are important too. It's about creating a system that supports people and helps them reach their full potential.
And it's about recognizing those systemic factors that contribute to homelessness in the first place. Poverty, lack of affordable housing, mental health challenges, and so on.
Bernie's PTSD is a perfect example. It's a reminder that many veterans carry these invisible wounds that can make it incredibly difficult. To adjust to civilian life, we need to ensure that they have access to the support and resources they need to heal and thrive.
There's a growing awareness now of the unique challenges the veterans face. And organizations like the Wounded Warrior Project and the VA are working to provide that comprehensive support. But there's always more that can be done.
This brings us back to the role of media. Bernie's story got a lot of attention, but it's just one story. There are countless others out there. Stories of resilience, struggle, and the need for systemic change.
The media has a responsibility to shine a light on these stories, to humanize the issue of homelessness, and to challenge those stereotypes and misconceptions that often surround it.
It's about showing the complexities, the individual journeys, the systemic barriers, and the potential for positive change.
And it's about prompting a deeper conversation about solutions. What can individuals do? What can communities do? What role should the government play?
Bernie's story offers a glimmer of hope, a reminder that transformation is possible. But it also serves as this call to action, a challenge to move beyond sympathy and towards meaningful action.
It's a reminder that we all have a role to play in creating a more just and compassionate society, one where everyone has the opportunity to thrive, and where second chances are not just a privilege, but a right.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this incredible story, I'm left with this sense of awe and inspiration, but also a renewed sense of responsibility.
It's easy to get caught up in the heartwarming narrative, but it's important to remember that Bernie's story is just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
And while individual acts of kindness are important, we need to work towards those systemic solutions that address the root causes of homelessness and create lasting change.
Bernie's journey reminds us that everyone has a story to tell, potential to unlock, and a contribution to make.
And it challenges us to look beyond the labels and see the individuals, to listen with empathy, and to ask ourselves, what can I do to make a difference?
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope Bernie's story has sparked your curiosity, broadened your understanding, and inspired you to take action in your own communities.
Remember, change starts with awareness, grows with compassion, and flourishes with collective effort. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep